Hello everyone, Catweazle here, welcome to the channel and welcome to our brand new playthrough, which is Darkest Night 2nd edition. Now, long-time viewers of the channel may know I've done a Darkest Night playthrough in the past. It was Darkest Night 1st edition. If you have a look through my playlist, you'll see it there if you want to have a look. Now, what's the difference between 1st edition and 2nd edition? Well, as far as gameplay, not a lot. There are a few minor changes, but basically it's the same game. Now, what is the difference then? Well, it's a massive upgrade in components, the board, the tokens, the cards. They've all been upgraded in quality and size. In fact, the board is about a third as big again. The original board was like a jigsaw board and it got a bit busy. Once you got everything onto the board, due to its small size, it could get a bit busy. But this is a proper mounted board and it's absolutely fabulous. So very pleased with the component quality and the card quality and the token quality. There's been a complete upgrade to everything. Additionally, 1st edition, the base game had a succession of 4, I think, expansions. All of those expansions have been consolidated and they're all in the 2nd edition, so that everything is in there. You don't have to buy any additional expansions. And if I recall correctly, the 1st edition as well had some promo cards, like promotional characters, heroes. All of those are included as well. I think the nymph was one, for example, and the nymph is included. She's in here. In addition to that, the Kickstarter, you could also get some minis, which I got. I'll show you the minis. We won't use them in this game because it's just easier to use the standees when you're videoing. It just makes it a lot clearer for you guys. I'll show you that later. There's also a updated rulebook and an updated, well, not updated compendium, it's a brand new compendium which actually gives you a lowdown on each of the characters. Each of the heroes, there's 29 heroes, and it just gives you an idea of how they play and what their strengths and weaknesses are. When we pick out the heroes, I'll go through that very quickly and you can see that based on which heroes we pick out. We'll do that in a while. So what we've done is we've set up the board and we'll go straight in to the setup in a moment. I'll just quickly go through the background to the game. What's happened is an evil necromancer has taken over the land, which is here on the board, and he controls 6/7 of the land. The only thing he doesn't control is the monastery here. This is the last bastion of hope and goodness left in the land, and our 4 heroes are in here, and the monks and the 4 heroes are hatching a plan to overthrow the necromancer, but the necromancer controls everything else. So we've got the mountains, we've got the castle, we've got the village, we've got a swamp, the ruins, and we've got the forest, and he controls all of this now, and everybody is living in fear of the necromancer. But all is not lost because of the monastery and the 4 heroes that are in there. Now, there is a way to defeat the necromancer. What you have to do is you have to find a holy relic, and a holy relic will help you to defeat and destroy the necromancer. There are 4 holy relics that are available in the realm. There is one up here in the mountains, as you can see. There's another one here in the swamp, There's another one here in the ruins, and the last one is here in the forest. But these are very hard to find, and you need to search them out. Now, the variant we are using is clues. So we're going to use the tracker down here. It's the darkness track, but it will also double as a clue track. And when we get 10 clues, we can go to one of these areas with a relic in it and try and pick one up. Just have a quick look. We'll pick this one up from the forest, and here it is. Now you'll see it's the graphic is sort of a lock with 3 keys. The other variant, apart from the clue variant which we're using, uses keys, and you need 3 keys. If you get 3 keys, you can open the lock and you can get the relic within. But we're using the clue variant, but you can use either, and that was the same in first edition as well. If we flip it over, there you see there is the relic. You definitely need a relic to destroy the Necromancer. There are a few occasions where you can roll a 7 on a 6-sided dice, which is what you need to do. A few of the characters have abilities that allow you to do that, but if they don't have a relic, though they may defeat the Necromancer, they do not destroy him. In order to destroy him, you need to have one of these about your person when you defeat the Necromancer. Essentially, all this does is give you +1 to your die roll, so that's how you can roll a 7 on a 6-sided die. I did mention there that some abilities do allow you to actually roll a 7 on a 6-sided die, but you need the relic to destroy the Necromancer. So they'll have to pick one of those up if they want to do the job. Let's place this back into the forest. So that's there waiting to be picked up. Okay, so gone through the relics. And is there anything else? Yes, you'll notice some symbology on the board. There's quite a few little graphics of dice. And what these are for, the ones with the arrows associated with them. During the Necromancer phase, he will roll a die. It's basically to see where he'll go on the board. Now, this is compared to something called Secrecy. Each hero has a Secrecy value. If the Necromancer beats that value, and he has to beat it, he can't sort of match it, he has to beat it, then he will see that particular hero and move towards them. But if he rolls a, say he rolls a 1 and he doesn't see anybody, then he will look from wherever he is. Let's suppose he's in the ruins and he rolls a 1. Because he hasn't seen anybody that he can move towards, he will have a look at the board, and there is a die with the number 1 on it and a little arrow pointing to the forest. So what will happen in that case, he would move into the forest. So that's what all this iconography means. There's also other iconography here, which is sort of like a circular arrow with 2 dice in it, and that is to do with searching and stuff like that. So there's under, like this says forest here, and you'll have a couple of icons underneath that, and those icons are just an indicator of what you may find if you search in that particular area. For example, a forest here has a treasure chest, so that's one of the things that you can find, and that's just to let you know the sort of thing that you can find in a particular part of the board. Okay, so that's pretty much the board gone through. You'll see more of that when we actually play the game, obviously. Is there anything else to mention? Yes, let's mention the darkness and clue track. Briefly touched on it before, but this is your darkness marker. Now, I've popped this onto a stand with a bit of blue tack. Don't do this at home, kids. Yeah, I'm only doing it to help you guys out and help myself out because I'm looking through a viewfinder, so it just makes it a lot easier. This is the darkness tracker, and that will start here at 0. And below that, we have our clue tracker. Again, just popped it on one of these just to make it a little bit easier to see. And that also starts at 0, so we'll put that down there. The darkness track goes up to 30. And there is just some text in another box just underneath it, just to explain what happens when you reach various areas of the darkness track. For example, when you get to 10 on the darkness track, you will draw a darkness card. We'll go through darkness cards in a bit, but that's basically an extra ability for the Necromancer. So the further you get up the darkness track, the worse it gets for your heroes. At 20, again, you get another darkness card. At 25, what happens is all the blights, you'll see blights as well in a bit, will start getting tougher as well. Once we get to 30, we will start creating blights in the monastery, and that is bad news, but I'll go through that later on. And additionally, because we're using the clue variant, when we get to 10, that means, see the little holy relic symbol there, that means we can actually start to go and look for holy relics. So we'll go to one of these locations and try and pick up a holy relic. As soon as we pick up a holy relic, that's brilliant, because then we can really start taking it to the Necromancer. I'll explain how we get clues a bit later on. So that's pretty much the board. Anything else to mention? I think I'll quickly go through dice. One of the updated parts of the game was you got these really nice dice, 16mm dice, I think, because they're exactly the same size as my normal dice. They are really nice. Look at the scroll work and stuff. Now, I won't be using these. These are perfectly good dice. They're excellent. In fact, some of the best dice I've ever got with the game, to be honest. But because of the scroll work, I'll have trouble through the viewfinder seeing them, and so will you, to be honest. Just to show you, here's what I normally use. You know these, anybody who's watched a playthrough of mine, seen these dice before many times. So, looks fantastic there, no problems. But if you actually put them down on the board, it's not so easy now, is it? Apart from, you can still pretty much easily see the 6, but it's really difficult to see the 6 on that one. So what I'm going to do is I'll use my normal dice. But these are excellent quality dice, and if you're just playing at a table, you know, sat at a table, no problem reading these whatsoever. But I won't use them just because, obviously, we're making a video and they're a bit more difficult to see. But that is an example of the excellent quality components we've got. Now, those dice are all white. They were going to have a black die that they were going to use for the Necromancer, but ended up it was a bit too expensive and stuff, so they just sacked it off. But I did like that in the original game, and I use a green dice because the Necromancer has a green standee. So that's, when we roll this, we'll roll this for the Necromancer, yeah? And we'll roll white dice for our heroes. So that's what these are over here. And hopefully you'll be able to see those a little bit better. Okay, so that's the dice, and we've gone through the board. What to go through next? Let's go through the cards next. So we'll go through the smaller cards. You can see all the decks are here. I've got a single card of each that I'll go through and just explain, you know, the anatomy of the card. Then I'll put them back and we'll shuffle them before the actual game starts. And yeah, so let's have a look at the cards and the anatomy thereof. First of all, we've got darkness cards. So let's just have a look. And aren't they? They're just beautiful. I love the way they've kept the aesthetic from the first game. They've improved upon it, but they haven't lost that sort of dark, forbidding aesthetic, and it's really good. So this is the darkness card. Remember, we pull these when we get to 10 on the darkness track and 20 on the darkness track. So at most, you'll only pull 2 of these a game. Yet there are 44 of them, so you've got tons and tons of variability with these cards. I'll flip it over, and the card will have a title, which is Apostasy here. It will also have a graphic, some artwork, and then you have the effect text, which is here, it's Heroes Cannot Pray in the Monastery. Now, that is really good for heroes, gives you a load of benefits. This is an example of a horrible card that you get when the darkness track goes to 10 or 20. We do not want stuff like this helping the Necromancer out. They are horrible cards. So there's 44 of them, and this is just an example of one. When I put it back in the deck later, we'll shuffle it all in and everything, but I'll go through each of the cards and you can have a look. So that's the darkness cards. Next up we have a quest card. And here is a quest card. So again, beautiful artwork there on the back. Let's flick it over, and as you can see, quite a busy card, but it's all very well laid out. I'll quickly go through the anatomy for you. So up here is the title of the card, and over here, this is your completion requirement. So you need a single success to complete this quest. Then you've got the artwork. Then to the right, you have a timer symbol, and this is how much time you've got to complete the quest in rounds. A round consists of a turn for each hero and a turn for the Necromancer. That's a full round, and we have 3 rounds to complete opportunists. So below that, we then have the progress requirement. So how do you get that success? Well, you just spend an action. If you spend an action, that gives you 1 success. You complete this card. So it's quite easy to do this one. Now, if you complete it, you get a reward. In this case, it's Vanishing Dust, which is one of the items available in the game. We'll go through the items when we actually play the game rather than going through each individual one. Then we have a consequence if you do not manage to do the quest. So if it expires, what happens is we get +1 on the darkness track. Not good. Then we have some flavour text at the bottom. So, some local outlaws are taking advantage of the current fear and confusion for looting and extortion. Drive them off before others follow suit. So that is an example of a quest card. Right, let's have a look at a mystery card. And here's an example of a mystery card, a little clue symbol on it. This is one of the main ways that you can get clues in the game. So we'll flick it over. And this is the mystery card. Now, it has a title, just like the other cards, and it also has a nice image. Underneath the image is some flavour text, so these enciphered manuscripts seem to contain limitless knowledge, but decoding them is a slow and laborious process. And then on the other side of the card, it has the number of clues that can be acquired, in this case 3, so it's great getting things like mysteries. They really help you get to that 10 clues to get a relic. And in the middle is where it goes on the board. This one says random, so what we'd do is we would randomly choose between the mountains, castle, village, swamp, forest or ruins. Just pick that and then that's where it goes. If it actually said something like mountains or castle, there'd be a little icon here rather than a question mark, and you'd just know that it immediately went to that particular location. Underneath that, we have the effect text. So, permanent action, hide, and +1 clue is what you get with this particular mystery. So, that's really cool. These are great. We need plenty of these. Get us up to 10 clues, then we can get that relic. So, mysteries are generally pretty good. So, we'll be looking to get a few of these out on the board, and let's see if we can pick them up. So that's your mystery cards. After that, we'll go to our tarot-sized cards. And here we are with an event card. As you can see, these are tarot-sized. These are much larger than they were in the first edition. The quest, mysteries and darkness cards, same size, but the event, map and artifact cards I'm going to show you now are a tarot-sized card, and very nice too. So, as you can see, the nice dark aesthetic again, it's fantastic. So, we'll flip it over. As usual, what we have here is the title of the card. The number here is its fate value. The higher the value here, the more nasty the card is. So, higher is bad. So, this is 4, so it's quite bad actually, 4. And obviously you get a piece of artwork in the middle. Then you have the effect text. Now, what you find is, it's not unusual. Here it says compare to the darkness track. Yeah. So 0 to 9 on the darkness track, you'll bump into a lookout. 10 to 19, you bump into a scout. 20 plus, you bump into a raven. As you might imagine, the higher the darkness in this particular case, then the worse the thing that you're going to bump into is going to be. The Raven's pretty bad, actually. And at the bottom you have a bit of flavour text. It's not unusual for event cards to compare to the Darkness track or even to Secrecy or Grace, which we'll go through when we see the heroes. With respect to Secrecy and Grace, it's generally the lower Secrecy and Grace you've got, the worst it's going to be. With the Darkness track, it's the higher it is, the worse it's going to be. So that's an example of an event card. Next up, we'll look at an artifact. And here we are with an artifact card, and that's what they look like on the back. Again, excellent artwork. So we'll flick it over. And at the top here, what you have is a description of what the artifact is. So these are Claws of Tenacity. You get a little piece of artwork to show them, and then you have the effect text down here. What does it do for you? So the Claws of Tenacity, after a die roll, you may spend all your sparks to roll 1 additional die per spark spent. Now normally, I'll go through sparks during the game, but normally you have to spend them before you roll a die. With this, you can spend them after. So that is excellent. So really good example of what an artifact can do for you. There are various ways to pick up artifacts. They can come as rewards through doing encounters. You find them in treasure chests, all sort of things. So keep an eye out for these. They really do help you out. And of course at the bottom as normal we've got a bit of flavour text. A toe in the door, a finger on the prize, do not stop now. Dun, dun, dun. So that's an artifact. We've got one more card to go through, which is a map card. So I'll dig one of those out. And here we are with an example of a map card. The same fantastic artwork on the back. We'll flip it over, and this is your map card. As you can see, there are various icons here for each area. And you see one here that's got sort of a glowing scroll. This is used in a quest variant because the scroll is on the back of the quest cards. We're not using the quest variant, so but that's what that is there. There's also some icons down here which are like glowing globes in a circular arrangement. This is used for a variant where you only use certain map cards. If you only use certain map cards, they will only bring out certain blights onto the board. So you can actually, you know, you can sort of, you have the flexibility to tailor the map deck, which will tailor the blights that come out, so you can make it harder or easier for yourself. We're not going to use this, we're going to use everything, we're going to use every card, so it doesn't really matter, but you can use a variant whereby you use specific cards in the map deck. That's all outlined in the rules, so you can check that out yourselves. Right, so what are these here? Well, these are all the blights, and you'll pull a map card at various times during the game. We'll pull one in a second because we've got to put the initial blights on the board, but generally when the Necromancer moves into a new area, we'll pull a map card, and whatever area he's in, we will put a blight. So say he moved into the village, we would put an Enigma blight into the village. We also use map cards when we're searching. So if a hero is searching, say, in the forest, has a look in the forest, he succeeds at his search, we look along to see what he finds, and this is what your search result is, and he would find a treasure chest. Remember when I was pointing at the board? Forests do have a propensity for treasure chests. So in this case, we would find a treasure chest, and when you find a treasure chest, you can keep them or you can open them straight away, but we'll see that during the game. Just a quick thing to mention, the Monastery very rarely gets a blight in it. Normally, it's because blights from other areas of the board overflow into it, and that's bad, because if you get 4 in the Monastery, then it's game over. But the reason why this shows an actual blight against the Monastery is, remember, if we get to 30 on the Darkness track, then a blight will go into the Monastery no matter what. Every round Once you're at 30 on the darkness track, a blight goes in the monastery. So in that case, you would use your map card and it would say an enigma is going into the monastery, so that's why it's in there. There's nothing in the search field here because you cannot search at the monastery. So this is a map card. What I'm going to do is going to put this back in the map deck. I'm going to shuffle them because what we're going to do next is we are going to pull out the blights and we're going to put the blights onto the board. That is the next part of setup. So I'll just sort that out, won't be a moment. And here we are back at the board. So I've shuffled these up, but we'll do a cut as well. Why not? So we've cut them. That is going to be our first map card. I'll put these back over here. And let's see what we're going to pick up. So here we go. Here is our map card. And we start at the mountains and we're going to have a void. In the castle we're going to have webs. In the village we're going to have a flux cage. In the swamp we're going to have confusion. In the forest an omen. In the ruins a flux cage again. And in the monastery we're going to get nothing because we're not 30 on the darkness track, so we can ignore that. So that's pretty good. We'll go along, I'll pick these out and then I'll put them on the board. And as I put them on the board, I'll just quickly go through the anatomy of a blight and you can see how they work. So I won't be a moment, I'll just pick these out. And there we are, I've picked out the blights for us. So I'll quickly go through the blights that we've got. The first one, which is going to the mountains, is a void blight. As you can see, these are lovely, lovely tokens. Nice cardboard, beautiful artwork. So they've got the artwork on the front and the back now. They only used to be on one side, but this is awesome stuff. So they look absolutely gorgeous. So this is a void blight, which is going to the mountains. Now, this is a bit of a bind because it counts as 2 blights. Remember, I mentioned overflow into a monastery. Well, if a particular part of the board has 4 blights in it, then it will start to overflow into the monastery, and this one counts as 2, which is bad. There is other bad stuff about void, because down here, this number here is what you need to defeat it. It's his might score. As you can see, its might is 7. Remember, we only roll d6s, so we will need bonuses to kill this. We don't need a relic because it's not the Necromancer, but we could do with one of those heroes that can actually boost its dice, because you need a 7 to get rid of this, and it's a good blight to get rid of because it counts as 2. So it's a toughie. Now, what no effect means here is when you're defending against it. I'll go through that in combat, but occasionally you have to defend against blights. You don't have to defend against this one, there's no effect. Yeah, it just stands around and takes up 2 blight spots. That's what it does, and that's bad enough. So, and it's difficult to get rid of. So that's what the void does. So what we'll do is we'll put that on a stand and we'll pop it up into the mountains. So there we go, we've got a void in the mountains. Next up we've got the castle, and the castle has webs. So these are webs. So you lose a turn when you are leaving that particular location. So when we're leaving the castle, we will lose a turn. Essentially, you know, you're having to cut your way out of the webs. So that's why you lose a turn. It just takes you a bit longer to get out of there than it would do normally. Now, they've got a might of 5, so if you roll a 5 or a 6, then you can get rid of these guys. And if you don't defend against them, then you will lose a secrecy. Essentially, you struggling in the web helps to give yourself away. So these are webs. We'll put those into the castle. So there we go, they're in the castle. After that we've got the village, which has a flux cage. So you lose 1 secrecy entering and leaving here. The webs, it was just leaving. Flux cage, it's entering as well. It's like, you know, it's the Necromancer has put something over the village and it can tell whether you're coming in or out if you actually cross the boundaries of the flux cage. Now, its might is 6, so if you want to attack this Blight, you've got to roll a 6. If you fail, then you're going to lose a Secrecy. Yeah, that's what this means, so pretty grim. So, it's not the worst in the world, but yeah, it's just annoying. It's like Blights move from annoying to bad to exceptionally bad. So, and this is sort of annoying, and it's difficult to get rid of again. So that's a Flux Cage. Oh, one thing it might be worthwhile showing you is there is actually a massive sheet, a reference sheet for everything. I had it on this side because I'm looking at the Necromancer turn, but it explains all of the items, the search results, other things that you can pick up while you're searching, in addition to items, and obviously things like clues and revelations and stuff like that. But it also on the other side has all of your blights, which is brilliant, and it just explains each one. So if you ever need to check one, especially some of these red ones are really bad, you can tell because they've got a lot of text, so always does to give them a good read, because there's normally quite a few conditions that come along with these red blights. So there we go, that is your blight reference and item reference, and also your Necromancer turn. So well worth having a look at that. And quickly while I'm doing that, is each hero card also has a reference on the back of it. Gives you the hero turn and the actions they can take. We'll go through that a bit more when we actually play the game and when we pick the heroes out shortly. So we've done the village. Next up is Confusion, and this is in the swamp. So you can't use any tactics. All heroes have power cards, we'll go through that shortly, and some of them are tactics. Well, you can't use them if there's a Confusion Blight around, because it's messing with your head, man. Okay, and if you want to defeat it, you have to roll a 4 or better, which is quite easy, but remember, you won't be able to use any tactics while you try to get rid of this. You'll just be rolling 1 die pretty much. So it does give you half a chance though. 4, 5 or 6 will get rid of this. If you're defending against it and you're not able to defend against it, then you lose a turn, which again, losing turns is always bad in any game. So that's Confusion, that's in the swamp. Put that onto a stand. Remember, don't do this at home, kids. It's just for the purposes of videoing. Do not ruin your components. I am very careful. Right after the swamp, we have the forest, and that has an Omen. So, higher fate events. Dun, dun, dun. I'm not sure what that is, so we will use that cheat sheet in a moment. And as you can see, what a piece of art that is. An eye with a skull in it. So again, it's a 6 to attack it and get rid of it, and an event. Ah, yes, I remember what this is now. Yep. So if you fail, you will get an event card. Event cards are not nice. Yeah. So you get an event card, and if you've got to choose, you pull an event card at the beginning of your turn. So if you're in the forest and you pull an event card, you'll pull 2 cards, because you pull a card for the Omen as well, and you use the higher fate. Remember that symbol that was in the top right hand corner of the event card, and I said the higher it is, the nastier it is. Well, that's what the Omen does. It just makes you pick the nastier card. I think that's it anyway. We'll have a quick look. I'll pop this into the forest here, and let's use the technology available to us and have a look at an Omen. So here's the Omen. Whenever a hero in the affected location draws an event, draw an extra card and discard the one with the lowest fate. So there you go. If tied, you discard the last one that was drawn. So I was right. But it's always good to check. Okay, we'll pop that back there. So that is the Omen for the forest, and our final blight in setup is a Flux Cage, which is going to the ruins. We've already seen the Flux Cage. There is one in the village, so we'll just pop it in there. Won't be a second. So in it goes to the ruins. Okay, what we'll do next is we'll place the Necromancer, but just before I do, I just want to show you my storage solution for the Blights. I got 4 of these sort of little plastic tray things, and they work just brilliantly. I think I got them from Wilko's in the UK. Now, Doug Herring, if you've been watching his playthrough of Darkest Night 2nd Edition, he's got something really funky. I did look at them. You can get them from Amazon, but I think they're coming over from America, and because they're coming over from America, they're taking the piss with the price. It was something ridiculous, like 20 quid. Well, I'm not paying 20 quid when I can get these babies for 25p each from Wilko's. So I'm using these, but they're really good. So anybody who's got a in the UK who's got a Wilko's near them, just bob in there and have a look out for these. They work really well. It is best to sort all these out. I always sort them out in alphabetical order, because if you put them all together in a big pile, it'll just take you ages to find things. Yeah, there are loads and loads of different types of Blight, and if you don't organise them like this, you can be there for days flicking through trying to find stuff. So I just organise them like this. I find it a lot easier. So these, brilliant, love them. So I thought I'd help out anybody who's got the game, and just do that as a suggestion. It does really help out having them in alphabetical order. They're just a lot easier to find. Right, what was I going to do? I was going to put the Necromancer into the ruins, because that's where he starts. He starts in the ruins, and I thought what I'd show you is I'd show you his standee. Now this is a nice big standee, look at the size of it. Remember, I just do this for videoing purposes. Don't ruin your own components, I'm very careful, don't do this. This is the Necromancer, and he's green and he's mean, look at him. So as you can see, this is why I'm using the standee in the video, because he shows up really well. So there he is. So we'll pop in there. I've got him at an angle like that because of obviously the angle of the camera. You can use standees that come with the game, and these are brilliant. They are much better than the Arkham Horror, Eldritch Horror standees, for example. Just to show you, just pop that in there. Holds it, but it doesn't bite into it. The Arkham Horror, Eldritch Horror ones bite into it and ruin the actual standee. These are just, yeah, just bang on, they are. Brilliant. So these are fantastic. As I say, I'm not using them because I have to have the standee at an angle so you guys can see what's going on. So I'll just put it there. But the only reason I'm not using it, very similar to the dice, is it's just for video purposes. Otherwise, it's a fantastic component. So there we've got the Necromancer. He is in the ruins. I did promise I would show you an example of the minis, and this is the Necromancer Mini. Now, if you get the bog standard game, you will get this mini. It's sort of included. The minis for the heroes are included. I've got those minis, but even if you buy the game without the additional mini box, you will get a mini of the Necromancer. And as you can see, you know, it's not CMON, cool mini or not, but it's still pretty good. And I'm very pleased with these. There's been a few complaints, I believe, I've read on BGG and stuff, but I've been very pleased with these minis. Okay, there's a few areas that might need a bit of green stuff, and I'll probably have to use the old hot water on this guy just to get his staff straight, you know, the old hot water cold water trick. But there is nothing wrong with these minis at all. The reason I'm not using the minis in the game is, well, I'll just show you. What is easier to see? Yes, it's obviously the standee. So that's the only reason I'm not using the minis. If you're actually sat at the game table and you have these painted up really nice, even grey, they'd be fine. But if you had it painted up really nice, sat at the game table, you'd have no trouble, you know, use the minis. But I'm just going to use the standee because it's easier to see. But I thought I'd show you the mini. So that's cool. While we're talking about minis, I'll quickly show you the hero minis. They came packaged like this, and again, all these look fabulous. So what's this? I think this is the Crusader, just to give you a quick look. Like I say, it's not cool mini or not, but it's got plenty of nice detail on it, and they'll come up really nice when I get a chance to paint them. So they're all there. I won't be using the minis, I will be using the standees. It is easier for you to see. But and obviously you get an extra Necromancer Mini if you actually got the extra box. As well as all of the heroes. So there's 29 heroes there and a Necromancer. But they all look pretty good. There's a Wind Dancer up there, I think. And good old Priorus, the priest, he's there. So there you go, the monk. He looks cool. Okay, so there's a quick look at the minis. Put those back in the box now. Okay, so we've put the Necromancer out. That is pretty much the board set up. So we'll discard that map card now. We've used it. I've shuffled all the decks and everything. We're all ready, apart from, yes, we need some heroes. So what I've done is I've took the 29 heroes, but I've took 4 out. The 4 I've took out are the ones I used in my first playthrough of first edition. So that was the Knight, the Rogue, the Priest and the Wizard. So I've took those guys out, but we still have 25 others here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pick 6 randomly, and then out of those 6 I'm going to choose 4. The reason I'm doing that is there is a chance otherwise, you know, we could get 4 heroes and no face punchers, or we could get 4 heroes and no spellcasters. Yeah, I think picking 6 then choosing 4, it will stop us getting either you know, it'll stop us getting an unbalanced party. We want some sort of balance. So I'm going to pick 6 and then I'm going to pick 4 out of that. So we'll give them a crappy shuffle, hopefully not dropping everything everywhere, and then we'll do a cut like that. I had shuffled them before, if you're wondering like the patheticness of that, but yeah, we've done a cut. So we'll take 6 off the bottom. 1, whoop, he says, knocking over the relic. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Put those to one side. And we've got a choice between the Channeller, the Seer, the Crusader, the Druid, the Enchanter and the Paragon. Excellent. So I'll make a quick choice on what I'm going to take out of there. We've got a few spellcasters, it looks like, and a few face punchers, so that should be pretty good. We'll have a look. I'll choose my 4 and then we'll go through each individual that I have chosen. So I will be back momentarily. And here we are with our first hero that I've chosen. I've chosen the Channeller. There's no particular reason, I just wanted to make sure we had some face punchers in the group. So I've picked the Channeller because she looks a bit of a hard ass. I mean, look at her. She's got her own standee here. So there she is. And we'll pop that over on the board. All the heroes start in the Monastery, so we'll pop that over in the Monastery. A few other tokens to go through is we have the turn token. So when it's on sunny like this, you have yet to take your turn. Once you have taken your turn, you just put it onto the moon side like so. The reason you have this token is you can take your turns in any order. You can swap it around each round. So this just helps you track who's gone and who hasn't. So you get that. We also have a couple of activation tokens. So if you activate a power or you activate a power for somebody else, you can actually use these tokens in order to keep track of who you are giving bonuses to, that sort of thing. So it's got an active side and an inactive side. So those are useful, giving her the blue ones. And there are also a couple of trackers. This is the Grace tracker, and this is the Secrecy tracker. Just to show you where those go, let's have a look at the card itself. So here's the player card. As mentioned on the back, it just has a hero turn and action summary. I've got one for the wizard, which I'll be using, but this is the side we want because we're actually using the channeler. So got a nice piece of artwork here, and we've got some flavour text. With one foot in the astral plane, the channeler's methods are often inscrutable, but nonetheless effective. At times she seems to see the world and wields powers no stranger than any other magic. At others she seems to fade from the world and traverse a very different landscape. What motivates this transition is unclear, but the results are nothing if not mythic. So she just looks cool, so I thought, right, pick her. And here we have the Grace track and the Secrecy track. And you can see these like icons here. They just show you where her starting values are. So she's going to start on 6 Secrecy and 4 Grace. So what we'll do is we'll take these two, and all you do is just pop them on there. Again, I'm using blue tack. Don't you do it, kids. Don't you ruin stuff. I'm very careful. So there we go. We have set that up for the channeler. I'll very quickly also show you the compendium. This is the compendium that you get with the 2nd edition, and it just gives you information on various heroes. So here's the channeler. The channeler has the ability to become very strong for brief periods. Astral effects. Most of the channeler's powers list a normal effect and an astral effect. Usually the channeler may use normal effects and may not use the astral effects. However, from the moment that the channeler uses the astral surge power until her next turn, this is reversed, and she may use the astral effects but not the normal effects. If any of her powers are exhausted for any reason, this makes both the normal and astral effects unavailable until they are refreshed. So it can be a double-edged sword. Astral Surge, this is one of two of the cards. There are 2 copies of the Astral Surge power, which differ only that one of them may be selected as a starting power while the other may not. Using Astral Surge changes the effects granted by the channeler's other powers, and also provides an extra die on all rolls. If the channeler has both copies of Astral Surge, so you may use them on different turns in order to gain access to her astral effects twice before refreshing her powers. Alternatively, she may use both of them on the same turn, in which case the second copy produces no additional change to the effects of her other power cards, but still provides an additional die on all rolls. So cool. More chances to succeed at tests. And Eddie is another card. The channeler can intentionally fail, see 12.3, while using the normal version of this power to refresh another power card, but must suffer the normal effects of a failure if she does so. Yeah, rule 12.3, just you can auto-fail if you wish, but as it says there, if you do auto-fail, whatever you fail, you've got to take the lumps off it. But it may be that she auto-fails with Eddie, for example, to refresh her Astral Surge, something like that. So it's a choice you have to make. Okay, so that's the channeler. Now, we have 13 power cards. 5 of them, as you can see, have this icon that's up here. This means these are starting powers. So there are 5 starting powers and we can pick 3. The 3 we're going to pick is Astral Surge, because obviously that's one of her powers, being able to boost up one of her normal powers with its astral effect. So we may as well take Astral Surge. So it's a bonus, exhaust at any time until your next turn. You get +1 die on all of your rolls during the turn that you exhaust it, and your powers have their astral effect instead of their normal effect. So it's like a boost. Yeah, so we'll take Astral Surge as a starting power. We'll also take Transcendence, Action, Normal. So if we're not using Astral Surge, we gain 1 grace up to her default and refresh your powers. I thought that'd be good because we need to refresh obviously Astral Surge occasionally, so I thought we'd pick this one. And its astral effect is exhaust to gain 2 grace up to 7 and 2 secrecy up to 7. So she can go past her normal default. Yeah, her normal default, for example, for grace is a 4. But this says you can go up to 7, so she can actually go past her default. So that seems to me a strong card. And the final card we're going to use is we are going to use Eddie, which was mentioned. Tactic, normal, elude with 2 dice. If you fail, refresh 1 power. Now, if you fail to elude, whatever happens through you failing to elude, you know, you've got to take that on the chin. But this is like sort of a, you know, it's just a silver lining in that if you do fail, you can at least refresh 1 of your powers when doing so. So that seems pretty good to me. Astral, you can fight with 2 dice, so that's always good. Now, these others, if we don't lose them, they just go into the deck. And what we'll do is we'll shuffle those in, and there is a chance during the game to get extra powers, so we may yet see bubbles or diffraction, but I didn't pick them. We will have a look at those at such time as we pick them. And we will just shuffle these away. And once these have been shuffled, we can have a look at the back of the card, which is quite nice as well. Originally, the old cards just had like a symbol on them, but they've actually kept the symbol. But they use it in a different place. You've now actually got a picture of the actual person. These are the symbols. They didn't totally get rid of the symbols. The symbol used to be sort of like totally on the back where the actual figure is now, but they look really, really cool, don't they? So that's the deck we'll be pulling from. We'll put those up there. These are the starting powers that she's going to use. So she's going to use Eddie, Transcendence and Astral Surge, and that is the Channeller. So what we'll do next is we will go to our next hero, and here we are with our second hero, and I've chosen the Crusader because he looks another hard ass. Look at him. He's taking no prisoners, is he? So he looks cool. Love the artwork in this game. It's just fabulous. So we're using the Crusader. We'll put him over in the Monastery as well. And his starting grace is 5, although he does eat through grace. A lot of his powers involve him actually using grace. And his secrecy is at 4. As you can imagine, he just runs around shouting a lot. So he's not very secretive. But here we are, the Crusader anyway, so let's have a read. The Crusader is a mighty warrior, blessed and fortified by holy powers. Fearsome in battle and full of grace, the Crusader is often the swiftest and most effective hero for a task, especially for scourging blights from the land. However, his dependence upon supernatural assistance can cause him to quickly run out of grace, forcing him to retreat and recover before returning to the front lines. So that's our Crusader. So pop him there. So he gets a turn token, and he's got a couple of activations should he need them. We'll pop those on there. As for his starting cards, we're going to pick Wrath. Yes, I'm English, I say Wrath. So we're going to pick Wrath, and it's a tactic. We spend 1 grace to fight with 4 dice, which is huge. That is absolutely huge. So although it won't help us get rid of that void, because remember that needs a 7 to defeat it, the others we should be able to get rid of with 4 dice. So this is just huge. Okay, we spend a grace, but we're bound to have horrible blights that we need getting rid of, and hopefully our Crusader is going to be the guy to do that with Wrath. We're also going to have Defiance. So as a bonus, whenever you fail a combat, you may spend 1 secrecy to gain 1 grace. So I thought that was pretty good, you know, to get grace back. Not too bothered about him losing secrecy because he's a bit of a hard ass. So while we'll have to keep an eye on his secrecy, I think this is a good power for him to have. So we'll have that as well. And we're going to have Devotion. Immediately gain 2 grace. Well, let's give him plenty of grace if we can. So we'll take this card. And a bonus, we can spend 1 grace at any time to gain a spark for a maximum of 3 grace per turn. So that's really cool. Say we got into the final battle with the Necromancer and he played this. he could spend 3 grace to get 3 sparks, and that is extra dice, so that is really cool. So we're going to take that as well. So that's his 3rd starting power. The ones we didn't pick are Anointed, which was +1 to default grace. Thought about that, but no. We'll stick with what we've picked. And you get +1 die when praying. You normally roll 2 dice when you're praying in the monastery, and if you get over 3 or above, I think you'll get a grace back. But no, we'll give that one a miss. And Providence, action, spend a grace, search, then roll 1 die and gain a treasure chest if you roll greater than or equal to your location search difficulty. Again, probably won't have him searching too much. He's going to be doing a lot of fighting, so I didn't pick Providence. Here are all of his other powers, and we'll just shuffle these in like that and give him a cut. So there we go, pop those up there. As you can see, very nice artwork on the back. That's just great. So we've got the Crusader, and these are his starting powers. Right, that's him sorted out. Let's move on to our next hero. And here we are with the Druid. So let's take a look at his standee. And great artwork as ever. Doesn't that look fantastic? And he's got a little friend. He's got a little doggy. So that's the Druid, who I happen to know is also Doug Herring's favourite character in this game. So hopefully he will chip in on occasion with how to play him properly. And I'll be very grateful. So that's the Druid. We'll put his standee into the monastery. Let's have a look at his sheet. So he's got a starting grace of 5 and a starting secrecy of 6. Druid. The Druid has a special connection to the natural world and can call upon allies there to aid in his tasks. As nature has many faces, so too the Druid can adopt a variety of shapes suited to varying purposes, allowing him to tailor his advantages to the task at hand. However, adopting one form loses the advantages of another, and thus the Druid can be weak if caught unprepared. Dun dun dun. Fantastic, this artwork. Love it. Okay, so let's put his turn token on there and his activation tokens. We'll pop those there. And these are his starting powers. And the ones we're going to pick Animal Companion, his little doggy. And it's a tactic. We can fight with 2 dice and we exhaust if we fail. So that gives him extra fight dice, so we'll take that. We'll also take Camouflage, Elude with 2 dice. So this is a bit of like rogueness that I want in the party. I want him to be able to sort of move in and out of places without actually fighting if he can manage it. So we're going to take Camouflage. And then his final starting power we're going to use is Visions. Bonus, exhaust after you draw an event card to discard it without effect. I think this will be huge. Yeah, event cards are horrible, and if he can sort of exhaust to get rid of one, then brilliant. If we get a really, really bad one, we will use Visions. The 2 I'm not using are Sprite Form. Action, deactivate all forms. Optionally activate. Active, ignore Blight's effects unless the Necromancer is present. You cannot gain Grace. I nearly got that, but we'll leave it. And Mist Form. When you would suffer a wound, i.e. you lose Grace, you may instead deactivate and exhaust all active forms, then activate this. And if you when it's active, at the start of your turn, you may deactivate this and then activate any form. Deactivate if you travel. So that's Mist Form and Sprite Form. We'll put those up with these guys up here and we'll shuffle those in. And there we go, give them a bit of a cut. And the Druid is ready to rock and roll. Oh, I'm not going through, I did go through the Channeller in the Companion. I didn't go through the Crusader, the Druid, and I'm not going to go through the Seer. The reason is, the Channeller was nice and short. The Crusader had about a full page. The Druid had a lot of stuff, so I've just been reading till Kingdom Come. If you do have the game, but it's always a good idea, though, to read the Companion. It does give you an idea about how they work. Okay, so that's it for the Druid. And I've already told you who our next hero is going to be. It's going to be the Seer. So let's have a look at her. And here we are with the Seer. So this is her standee. And isn't she a absolute babe. She's a babe. And she is on the team. So we'll pop her across in the monastery with the others. Now, apart from her being a babe, the reason I picked her is she's a great support character. And I think she can help the others out a great deal. So here she is, the Seer. The Seer is a mystical hero able to catch glimpses of the future. Though not a strong fighter, the Seer is able to avoid danger and aid allies by searching out the hinges of fate, the places and the moments when the future can be altered. With careful preparation and supernatural instinct, the Seer can topple mountains by divining the perfect moment to act. Super. So she starts with 4 grace and she's also got 6 secrecy, so she'll probably be doing quite a bit of eluding, to be honest. And doesn't she look wonderful? So that is the Seer. And these are her starting powers. And we're going to pick the Prophecy of Forks because it makes me laugh. Imagine her there with a fork. But not really. It's it's not about cutlery. Bonus. Exhaust at the start of any hero's turn. For the rest of that turn, whenever that hero would draw cards from any deck, they draw an extra card and put one of their draws at the bottom of that deck. So that is every single deck. So the event deck, the map deck, you know, anything. So this is huge. Yeah, this will be brilliant. We will be able to use it at certain points. I'm sure we'll have certain of our heroes. They'll have a crunch turn, and this will be really useful. So I thought we'll take the Prophecy of Forks. We'll also use the Prophecy of Fortune. Bonus, exhaust at the start of any hero's turn. That hero gains +1 die on all rolls this turn. Fabulous. Yep. So again, that'll come in really useful. And her final power is Douse. Action, exhaust to draw 1 search result for your location without rolling dice. That is really strong as well. We can get to a location and we can search and just automatically find something. So that's brilliant. So we'll take Douse as well. The ones we didn't take were Prediction. Action, roll 2 dice and add them to this card. You may use all dice on this card instead of making any roll. When you do, clear this card. Yeah. And Premonition, Tactic, elude with 3 dice, exhaust if you roll fewer than 2 successes. So those are the 2 that we're going to put up here. We'll put our turn token on there and these 2 activate tokens. Put these in with those. Have a quick shuffle. And a quick cut. So there we are, and those are her 3 starting powers. And that is it for our heroes. So I'll put these away and we'll go back to the main board. And here we are back at the game board. So we are all set up and we are ready to go. The Necromancer is down in the ruins and our 4 heroes, the Channeller, the Crusader, the Druid and the Seer, are in the Monastery, ready to start their quest to destroy the Necromancer. But he's already spread his blights throughout the land and we're going to have to deal with them. So that is it for the introduction and setup of Darkest Night 2nd edition. I hope you're looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it. It's a great little game. I love playing this game. So hopefully we'll have a lot of fun playing it and we will be able to defeat the Necromancer. Anyone who needs any more Darkest Night 2nd edition in their lives, check out Doug Herring. He's currently doing a playthrough of it. He's doing very well as well. He's doing superb. So check him out. He also did a playthrough using the prototype components, as did Marcus J Play, so you can check those out as well. But that is it for the introduction and setup. So thank you so much for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for all the likes and the dislikes. You're still watching. And if I made any errors during the episode, if I said something wrong or whatever, got some arse over tip, whatever, just let me know and I will go over it next episode and try and fix it. And other than that, anybody who's been to Board Game Links to have a look at the videos over there. Thank you very much. Same to anybody who's been to BGG, at my other video threads and made a comment or liked or dropped Geek Gold, anything like that. Thank you so much for your support. As I said, this is the end of the introduction and setup. Next episode we will get into gameplay and we will take our first couple of turns of Darkest Night. But until then, this is me, Catweazle, signing off. Toodaloo.